What's up, y'all, and welcome back to my channel, Be Nicole Inspiring Souls. I'm gonna go ahead and jump right in. This video was You Ask, I Answer. What does it mean to be a Black woman in your professional experience as an assistant director? I am the only full-time staff member who is Black. I have the ability to connect with students of color more simply because they feel as if though I understand, which I do. And so I'm able to make those connections and really build upon that engagement and the connection and build upon that trust factor. My office is what they call Club Brittany. So many students, and not just African American students, but students know that my office is a safe space, and so anyone is welcome. And so I think I take so much pride in being a full-time staff member who has the ability to connect with students the way that I do because of my own personal experiences. I would say that the only downfall to being the only full-time staff member who is African American is that when I'm passionate about a topic and I'm, concerned about something that we're attempting to push, I think sometimes my passion comes off as I'm angry. I simply go to work and do what I do because I want to serve and be able to advocate for students, and sometimes that requires me to use my voice. Have you watched The Self-Made inspired by the life of Madam C.J. Walker? And if so, what were your thoughts as a Black woman? Ooh. Okay, so yes, and interesting enough, I've actually watched it 3 times. So I watched it by myself, and then I watched it again with my mom, and then I watched it again yesterday with my grandmother. So I have watched the film, and each time that I watch it, something else sticks out to me. If you haven't seen it, it's out now. It's on Netflix. I would say the amount of the drive and the motivation that Madam C.J. Walker had is so inspirational, and she was such a go-getter. And what I loved is that she truly believed in herself, and that wasn't her story in the beginning, but she grew to love herself and believe in her capabilities. And so that speaks volumes to me, to be able to see how much work and also how much rejection she had to experience along the way. I think some of the things that I was a little caught off guard by: why is it that we as African American women sometimes choose not to partner together? We always choose to make it a competition. So I've been doing some research and watching some YouTube segments about her life as well, because I wanted to understand her story. Another thing that really kind of stood out to me in this movie is she made decisions on her own, or at least that's how it was portrayed in the movie, and I was a little, I think, caught off guard, I guess, as to there seemed to be some disconnect from the very beginning between in regards to her business when it began to pick up, and to how much say that she allowed her husband to have. And not that I think that your husband needs to basically run the business and you do the work, but I was a little caught off guard that there wasn't really a partnership there, and how they weren't really able to build together. That's not to say that she did it the wrong way. I think even especially in that time frame where she was receiving so much rejection from the men, and how she didn't allow that to convince her otherwise. And so that just led me to believe that she was very much so a strong Black woman who believed in herself and her capabilities to grow her business, which kudos to her, she did it. I look at it as my blog is like my baby. And so when I do get married, I'm pretty sure my husband will have tips on things that he think that he thinks I can do differently, but I will always, always, always feel like this is my baby, and because of me, I've gotten it to this point. What was your journey in learning to accept the unknown of your journey in both Christ and your profession? Ooh, man, so, woo, that's a loaded question. When I accepted my first job, I was, I was somewhat excited, but also very much so confused because this is what I had wanted, which was a full-time job, but the pay was so little. I just couldn't figure out why this had become like a part of my plan, a part of my journey. And it was when I took that job at Jacksonville State that I just had this like desire, want a true relationship with Christ. So it was when I started going back to church and just started getting back into my word and honestly started crying out to God. But what I love is that the things that I was praying for in Jacksonville, Alabama, the Lord has allowed to come to fruition, and it blows my mind every single time that I think about it. And so I think for me, it was truly in those seasons where I was so unsure of myself. And because I was in that stage, you know, I started the blog in Jacksonville as well, and so I was able to really track my progress and my growth as a professional, and it just really showed me that like there were some odd things happening. Like the one that I'll share is because, you know, everyone will sometimes question like, is God real? And I think I was kind of at that place as well, because I was like, well, if God is real, like why am I broke? Why am I not making enough money, you know, to keep gas in my car and to feed myself, like in that blame game. And there was a time where I was in Jacksonville, and someone had asked me to come speak to a group of young women in Florence. And I used to speak to young women in Florence all the time. I would go and just give little inspirational talks and tidbits and loved it. And I really should probably start that back up. It was an opportunity to go and speak to a group of young women. And I just felt so strongly for whatever reason about going to do it. The crazy part about it was that I really didn't have the gas money to go from Jacksonville to Florence back to Jacksonville. I was like, do I cancel the speaking engagement or I just go and like hope that I get paid? Because that was the thing. I was kind of a beginner speaker, so I didn't really know if I had enough speaking wisdom to really put a price on me showing up. And so it was kind of just like the unknown. Sometimes I would show up and I would get paid, and sometimes I would not. Really, this was a test of my faith. And so I end up going to speak, and I speak, and the young girls, they loved it and they thought I was so cool and so hip. And I remember organizer coming over to me, and I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm going to get paid. And it didn't really matter the amount, but I just feel like whatever it was going to help me get back home. Remember, I felt so strongly about going. He came over and he said, thank you so much. We really appreciate you doing this. Safe travels back home. And I was like, oh no, I used all my gas to get here. So I could have very well asked my parents, or I could have asked my grandmother for gas money, but I just felt like if the Lord really called me to go and speak to those group of young women, then he'll provide for me to get back home. So I go ahead and get on the road and allow the car to run all the way to E. I stop at the Chevron gas station. Every time I drive by this gas station, y'all, on my way to Florence, I low-key like start having a moment. But I stop at this gas station. I'm literally about to use the last, I think, $10 that I had to put in my tank, which would have gotten me back home. Go to the gas station, I go in, I pay the woman the $10, okay? I go outside, I put the pump in, and I sit in my car. And you're not supposed to do that, but I sit in my car because I'm perplexed in the fact that I just gave away my last $10 and I don't really know how I'm going to get by for that week. Y'all, I all of a sudden hear the gas thing go, you know how it does a little dunk, you know, to let you know that it's finished. Yo, I look up and there was $20 on the screen. Now, mind you, I just gave my last $10. I don't have another $10 to give, so I'm confused. I think the pump is broken. A man comes out and he says, hey, he says, the cashier says she needs you to come back in. And I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy. What just happened? I go inside. I'm like, hi, I paid you the $10. So apparently this girl was new. She's like, you can just pay us like the other $10. But y'all remember, I don't have $10. So I was like, okay, well, I was like, I'm just confused as to why I didn't stop at 10 because that's what I paid you. And the lady, the manager, comes out and was like, that machine, I'm just gonna go out there and turn it off. She's like, it just does weird things. And she was like, it's really on us. She can't charge you for a glitch in the machine. So she was like, you just have a blessed day, y'all. And from that moment on, I was like, there is a God and he does care about me. And so it was little things like that that would happen to me all the time. In Jacksonville, I would go through drive-through restaurants, and like I said, I'm literally not having the funds, but I would go through and literally try to order off someone's dollar menu, order a meal and no drink, and y'all, the person in front of me would have paid for my meal, and there was no one ever behind me for me to pay it forward. I think for me is that really it was just walking by faith, continuing to believe that God is for me, and that has kind of been the one thing that has motivated me with my relationship with Christ, but then also through my journey as a professional. So that was kind of a long answer, but I hope it answered your question. Is there anything that you'd like to do but you haven't done yet? Yes. Okay, so there's a few things. So I would love to go to New York, and haven't even been close to going, but it's definitely on my list of things to do. I would also love to go skydiving, okay? Do you think a soulmate and the love of your life are the same person? Okay, so I think your soulmate and the love of your life can very much so be the same person, but your soulmate is typically someone that you just instantly connect with. You instantly vibe with them. Like the two of you have so much in common, and it's honestly what drives you all closer together. Whereas the love of your life, to me, it's someone that you have grown to love, flaws and all. And also, like with your soulmate, I think there's things about them more likely to ignore because the connection is so strong. So I think it can very well be the same person, but it may not be the same person. And I think the follow-up question was, have I met my soulmate? I would say no. Next question. How did you learn what signs about your moves were of God and which ones you were trying to force onto yourself? Ooh, this is so good. Y'all, God is faithful. And the one thing that I know is that if I ever can over the fear and actually pray a thing through, the Lord always provides on my behalf. And so that's why I have to be very intentional about the things that I'm praying for and ensuring that that which I'm praying for, I'm actually ready to receive. I would say that anytime that it's been a move of God is simply when things just flow. You could actually go and watch my new job testimony video. I'll post the link here, but that was literally such a God thing. You can actually go back and watch my move to Birmingham video, and that was such a God thing. The things of God, they just happen in my plans. So when I accepted the job in Tuscaloosa, I wanted to move to Tuscaloosa because it just makes sense to work where you live. But literally, Tuscaloosa, when I accepted the job, they had no apartments open during the month of October. But I ended up going to Birmingham, finding an apartment, and I was like, okay, the Lord has provided me with a roof over my head. I am so grateful. And the very first night that I stayed in my apartment in Birmingham, I literally had an air mattress and like a suitcase of clothes. and toiletries. And I was so content. I was so grateful and just could not believe that the Lord had opened this door. Well, on top of the Lord opening a door for me, He also provided me with furniture that I did not pay a dime for. $3,000 worth of furniture paid for in full. Those are the kind of things that can only be orchestrated by the Lord Himself. On top of that, not just the furniture, but on top of that, moved to Birmingham, there was a complete stranger who I met the day that I went to go tour the place. He was like, hey, if you put me down as the person who recommended the apartment, I'll give you half of recommendation fee. So y'all, this man gets the 500, right? So he didn't actually get $500, but it was taken off of his rent, and y'all, he turned around and gave me $250. It was almost like double confirmation that this is where God wanted me to be in this season. So I would say that anytime that something that you're forcing, and again, scripture tells us, to ask, seek, and knock. And there's even a portion that says that we should ask, seek, and knock with perseverance. So it's like to ask and keep on asking, seek and keep on seeking, knock and keep on knocking. But I would say with all of your asking and your seeking, your knocking is, to one, check your intentions, check your motives. But to two, make sure you're praying that God's will be done, right? And that's what you want your portion to be. So as much as I wanted to live in Tuscaloosa and that be my portion, that wasn't God's plan for my life. And I would much rather be in God's plan for my life than to be in my own plan, simply because I do not know what the future holds. I think every day I'm reminded as to why Birmingham is a much better fit for me. And I'm always so grateful God closed the door for me in Tuscaloosa. And that's another thing, like closed doors from God is simply protection, right? And you may not really know what it's protection from. Like I have no clue why God wouldn't allow me to live in Tuscaloosa. I've tried on 2 different occasions to make the move to Tuscaloosa, and the door shut in my face every single time. But you know what? I'm gonna just keep trusting God and be very grateful for my portion. So I would just say, honestly, the way that I have learned was early on was through trial and error, and knowing that God is faithful, and that scripture tells me, right, to not only to trust Him, but to acknowledge Him in all of my ways, and that He will make my path straight. There's one version that even says that He'll make my crooked paths straight. So that is really how I'm able to decipher between the two. I hope that's long, but I hope it all makes sense. Okay, the question is, how did you do it? Like, push through when you felt like your blogging wasn't enough. Ooh, okay, so there would always be a person who would reach out to me and say, on the days where I felt like giving up or the days where I wanted to quit blogging, who'd reach out and say, I just read one of your blog posts and I just want to let you know that I needed that encouragement today. And even with like me doing, blogging, and now I have the Facebook page and the Insta blogging and now YouTube, and this is all fun for me. But, my goal is that everything that I share will inspire, motivate, or encourage someone in whatever season of life that they're in, that it will allow them to push through, not to give up on themselves, not to give up on their dream. I think you have to be open to being willing to tweak, it. So the blog has really, blossomed and become something that I never saw it coming. I didn't even know to pray for it to become, but I'm very grateful that the Lord has given me this platform and allowed me to connect with so many people. So I would say, don't get so caught up in the numbers game or with the amount of people responding. I would say, or the amount of people who are liking or sharing. I would just say keep going, keep putting out content, keep writing, and continue to put in the work that it takes for you to be successful, and just know that there are people out there who want to support you, who are excited about being able to support you, but will not know how to support you if you don't ever put anything out there for people to support. Don't operate with fear. Just be bold and continue to do that which you know that you've been created or called to do. Have you ever been interested in the same guy as a friend? No. So anytime that like my friends start to like a guy or start dating a guy, that guy automatically becomes unattractive to me. I'm not interested. He would never be able to holla ever. Can you date someone who makes less than you? Ooh, child. Okay. Can I date someone who makes less than me? Could I? Sure. Is that the goal? No, not really. I would, really prefer to date someone who makes what I make, or slightly more. I would just say, in regards to like making less, again, if you know me, you know that like money's not the thing that drives me. But I think you have to be very careful about, dating people. Just know what your standards are, right? Because if you're dating someone who does make less than you, like what limitations does that place on you, the relationship, and does it require you to now switch up the lifestyle that you've been able to afford because you're trying to reason or you're trying to make the other person feel comfortable? There's nothing wrong with dating someone who makes less than you. I know a lot of people who do, but if you're asking me if I would prefer to date someone who makes less, the answer would be no. Another question is, are you a full-time blogger / YouTuber? No. No, so I work full-time. I work full-time in higher ed as an assistant director at the University of Alabama, and I just do this blogging, YouTubing thing on the side. It's fun for me, but there's quite a few people though who read the blog and who support, so that's what keeps me going and keeps me motivated to continue writing. But no, I am not a full-time blogger or YouTuber. I don't necessarily know if being a full-time blogger or YouTuber, if that's the goal, but I do think I know for a fact I want to become a motivational speaker. So I'm hoping that by putting myself out there in blogger form, YouTuber form, as a writer and content creator, that will open up doors for me to become a motivational speaker. As someone who is single, how do you not go back to your past or that which you walked away from? Oh, so in the movie of Self-Made, inspired by Madam C.J. Walker, she said, never go back to that which broke you. I believe that people of your past or people that you walked away from, you did so with purpose. And I would just challenge you to dig deep in figuring out what the why was so that you don't go back. For me, I have just worked so hard to become this young woman that I am today that it would be such a waste of time and effort for me to attempt to go back to something. I would say that as a single, it's important for you to really figure out, who you are, and know that you're the prize and that there's somebody out there who is going to treat you like the queen that you are, or king, and so it's not worth it for you to settle and go back. As a matter of fact, you should never go back unless God himself told you to. Otherwise, you keep moving forward and just know that like you deserve better. So I don't know what your past consists of, but the fact that you walked away from it and you have had to go through a growth process tells me that you've put in the work and you don't want to throw all that away just to entertain some hey big head text. So I would say it's important that you also set healthy boundaries. So I am not friends with any of my exes, so I don't have this problem. Not that I don't have bad beef with them either. If I saw them in public, I could speak to them or carry on a very short conversation with them. But it's important for you to set healthy boundaries, and I would say that it may even be important to block them, and not just to like label their call as do not answer, but to actually block them so that you're not tempted, especially in times like this where we are literally looking at the same four walls because of the coronavirus. Don't allow yourself to be tempted. You know what your weaknesses are, so don't allow the enemy to use those against you. You worked really, really hard to be what you've become and to have that which is in your possession, and so don't allow some image of your past pull you back because it's selling you a dream. Okay, another question. How do you not give into loneliness as a single during this time? Get busy, okay? You need to figure out what it is that you're passionate about. Maybe you're supposed to be starting a business. Maybe you're supposed to be writing a book. Maybe you're supposed to be launching a YouTube channel. I don't know what your it is, but it's in times like this where I want to continue to be intentional about operating with purpose and knowing that I've been placed on this earth to provide a solution to a problem. And so I know that I've been called to just inspire people and encourage others. And so maybe it's you, if you don't know what your purpose is, one, figuring what that's going to look like, but then two, you also need to start putting in the work. So if it's a business, where are you at with your business plan? There are so many people right now who are helping content creators or business entrepreneurs literally help grow their business, and they're offering their services for free. I've probably received 3 to 5 emails just this week alone of someone offering a service for free because they want to help others tap into another stream of income or simply launch the business or write the book. I would encourage you to get busy and figuring out what it is that you're passionate about so that you can put in the work. Like, we got money to make, right? We got things to do. Don't allow this season of corona to make you feel like you are alone, because you're not. So I would say get out there, put yourself out there. And maybe that's what you need to be writing about and sharing with others. There's other people who are also single, so maybe you need to launch a blog, or just maybe you do some daily posts and send out some encouragement, and so that other people, other women, other males be encouraged in this season. That there's always time for you to help others, and I think there's no better time than now for you to do that. So that would be my answer to how not to give into loneliness. What advice do you have about transitioning into life after college? Be prepared for doors to shut. I think that's the one thing that I was not prepared for. I was like, I'm gifted and I'm kind and I'm a hard worker, and so people will want to hire me. Wrong. I am all of those things, but that's no shoe-in for every opportunity. Just be prepared for some doors to shut, and know that it's not even about you. Sometimes when doors shut, honey, sir, that's an opportunity for you to celebrate, because you have no idea what was on the other side of that door opening and how much stress it would have caused you and what journey it would have taken you on mentally. So I would say sometimes celebrate when the doors actually close, and then extend yourself some grace. Just know that, like, You are not the only person who is out here looking for a full-time job. I know that's a struggle. I looked for roughly 8 months. So I had a lot of phone interviews. I received a lot of rejection emails and letters. So I definitely feel the pain, but just know that there's purpose in it all and that eventually it will all work itself out. And the last question is, what has been your biggest achievement thus far? I would say that my biggest achievement thus far, honestly, loving myself. I think for once in my life, I finally got to a point where I love me, flaws and all. I love all the little quirks about me and how unique I am and how opinionated I am and how strong I am. I just truly love me, and I think because I love me, it has helped me be able to add that much more to my friendships and to my work, to the blog, just to everything that's connected to me. And I know that it will also help add that much more to my next relationship. That's it. I will see you all in my next video, and don't forget hashtag be inspired today.